What's that, bud? The Lincoln Summer Sales event is on now with exclusive offers? Oh, so you want to feel the wind pouring through the available open panoramic vista roof on a road trip? And spend the afternoon beachside hanging out on the back of the spacious Lincoln Splitgate? Okay, I'll schedule a Lincoln test drive today, right before your vet appointment. Visit your local Lincoln retailer or learn more at Lincoln.com.
Hello?
Look what TJ Maxx dragged in.
The Devil Wears Prada 2 is now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
We are digital, we are downloadable, we are streamable.
The fashion event of the year is certified fresh.
Pull yourself together, we have work to do.
Critics say it's smart and witty and the perfect sequel.
That's all.
Get runway ready for The Devil Wears Prada 2 on Disney Plus and Hulu. Rated PG-13.
Welcome to the Special Forces in World War II podcast, transmitting on this frequency. This broadcast is your dedicated channel for comprehensive intelligence regarding World War II Special Forces operations. Our transmissions encompass in-depth analysis of their strategic maneuvers, cutting-edge equipment, illustrious biographies, and an array of pertinent subjects. The orchestration of these transmissions is executed by the expert team of the Special Forces in World War II website, a squad deeply immersed in the historical theatre. For further insights, visual aids, and captured moments frozen in time, navigate to our virtual headquarters at worldwar2-soft.com. Your immersion into the front lines of knowledge awaits. Over and out. Welcome back to another episode of the Special Forces in World War II podcast, where we explore the bold, the daring, and the extraordinary stories, tactics, and equipment of the special and specialized forces whose actions helped shape the outcome of the Second World War. I am your host, Michael Wyers. On June 6, 1944, the Allies returned to France. Along a 60-mile stretch of the Normandy coast, 5 divisions come ashore by sea. On the far eastern edge of the whole invasion, beyond the last of the beaches, 2 flanks have to be held, or the landing can be rolled up from the side. The task of holding the far left falls to airborne and commando troops. The paratroopers of 6th Airborne Division drop in the dark to seize the bridges over the Caen Canal and the River Orne, and to silence the guns that threaten the beaches. Behind them, coming off Sword Beach by sea, march the Commandos of 1st Special Service Brigade, under Brigadier the Lord Lovat. The brigade is 4 units, number 3 Commando, number 4 Commando, number 6 Commando, and number 45 Royal Marine Commando. Each is a self-contained fighting unit, trained hard, lightly armed, and expected to punch far above its weight. Their orders are to cross the beach, drive inland, link up with the airborne troops at the bridges, and then hold the high ground beyond the River Orne. That high ground is a low ridge running through the villages of Plein, Franceville, and Bréville. Hold it, and the eastern flank of the invasion holds. Lose it, and the enemy looks straight down onto the crossings and the landing grounds below. In the episodes before this one, we followed the brigade off the beach and inland to the bridges, and we followed number 4 Commando and number 3 Commando through the first 2 days of the fighting on the ridge. In this episode, the story widens to the whole brigade. We begin on the afternoon of June 6th with number 6 Commando climbing to Plein. We follow number 45 Royal Marine Commando east to a seaside village called Franceville Plage and a battery of guns above Merville. And then the 4 Commandos become one. We follow the whole brigade through the defense of the ridge, through Bréville, and through the long, grinding weeks of the Normandy campaign, until the enemy breaks at last, and the pursuit runs east towards the Seine. This is the story of 83 days on the eastern flank. It begins on high ground on the afternoon of the 6th of June. So, let's start at the beginning. In theory, 6th Airborne Division holds the ground between the Orne bridges and the brigade's allocated area. That area lies on the extreme left flank of British Second Army. In practice, the ground is far from secure. The route climbs out of the Orne Valley and crosses the edge of Drop Zone N. It proves only marginally less dangerous than the march inland from the beach. The cycle troops lead the brigade away from the bridges. These are commandos mounted on folding bicycles, brought ashore for exactly this task. Number 6 Commando and Number 45 Royal Marine Commando provide them. Number 3 Commando's cycle element joins the advance under different circumstances. Number 3 Commando's main body is held up at Colleville-sur-Orne. Heavy shelling and continuous sniping stop its progress. Rather than wait, 3 troop is sent forward on cycles independently. The troop crosses the bridges at 1400. Orders reach it almost at once. It is to go to the assistance of 9th Parachute Battalion. Otway's men are holding positions outside Le Plein against stiff enemy resistance. Elsewhere, the brigade is still moving. Brigade headquarters, Number 6 Commando and Number 45 Royal Marine Commando push for the high ground. Behind them, to the south of the airborne bridgehead, a serious threat is developing. 21st Panzer Division is on the move. The brigade report records what follows. Number 3 Commando's main body reaches the bridges at approximately 15:30. There it is diverted on the instructions of Airborne Division. The commando is to take up a defensive position near Le Bar de Ranville and protect division headquarters. One of Lovat's units is now committed elsewhere. The original plan can no longer be executed. Lovat decides instead to hold the line of the high ground. That line runs from Merville village in the north to Bréville in the south. The tactical logic of holding the Franceville Ridge is straightforward. An enemy established on the high ground would look out across Drop Zone N. Those fields are vast and open. They run from the foot of the ridge to within a few hundred meters of the River Orne. In brigade hands, the same ground offers something altogether more favorable. The country up on the ridge is bocage. This is farmland enclosed by high earthen banks, topped with thick hedge and broken by orchards. In the American sector, the hedgerow country extends roughly 48 kilometers south of Carentan. The British sector is different. Here, the bocage comes in patches, concentrated around villages and in the valleys. One of the more extensive patches lies on the ridge itself. It runs from the sea at Franceville Plage south to the Bois de Bavon. It covers most of the ground that Major General Richard Gale has assigned to the brigade. In this country, a man can rarely see far. Fields of fire are limited to about 180 meters at the most. Commonly, they are no more than about 45 meters. That restricts both sides, but the ground favors the defender. Handled with skill, the earthen banks give cover from fire. They make a defended position extremely difficult for an attacker to locate. The Norman houses are solidly built in stone. Their cellars make strong redoubts. Around these, the commandos form their positions. Each is a loose cluster of mutually supporting fire points, shaped to the ground rather than to a map. Night passes without attack. At 4:30 on June 7, 1944, the brigade stands to arms along the ridge. Every man expects the enemy to come at first light. The stand-to passes quietly. The sky lightens in the east, and the men wait. Then, as the sun rises, so does the enemy's artillery. The fire comes from Bréville wood. Field guns shell the farm and the orchard. 20mm rounds strike the trees overhead and burst there. The fragments come down into the positions and cause casualties. The damage below is slight. The heaviest concentration falls on the forward edge of the orchard. That is the line Mills-Roberts declined to defend. Number 6, Commando is not without means of reply. A medium battery is ashore now, with its forward observation officer in contact. This is an officer whose task is to direct the guns onto targets he can see. Mills-Roberts decides to give Bréville wood a sustained bombardment. As the concentration strikes the wood, a figure is seen running up the road towards the Commandos' lines. He is a sergeant of the parachute regiment. He dropped the previous night and came down almost on top of the German positions. The last concentration, he tells them, has shaken the enemy badly. If the commando acts quickly, there is an opportunity. Mills-Roberts takes it. He puts together a rapid-fire plan. The medium battery is to give the wood a sustained beating. The 3-inch mortars are to trim its forward edge. The assault troops will come in from the right and take the gun position. The concentration lifts. The troops go through the wood at speed. 4 field guns fall to them, along with 2 20mm guns and 5 machine guns. 15 prisoners are taken. 1 man of the commando is killed. 2 jeeps haul the captured guns back into number 6 Commando's own positions. No serious enemy attack develops along the Franceville flank that morning. Major General Gale comes up to visit the brigade. He arrives at brigade headquarters with fresh orders for Lovat. The brigade is to proceed with the clearance of the coastal defense belt at Franceville Plage. The brigade's task is to protect the left flank of the Allied armies. That requires Franceville Plage to be silenced. It is to be cleared, at the very least, as far east as the road running northeast from Gonneville. Away to the south, pressure on 6th Airborne Division is mounting. 21st Panzer Division is concentrated east of Caen. It has been able to shift there because 12th SS Panzer Division Hitlerjugend, the Hitler Youth Division, has come up to take positions west of the city. On the Franceville Ridge itself, June 7th stays comparatively quiet. The day's fighting is at Franceville Plage and Merville. June 8th brings a different character altogether. Determined counterattacks begin to develop against the Commandos on the eastern flank of the airborne lodgment. The enemy has been gathering strength for days. German troops of 15th Army have been moving west to reinforce 711th Infantry Division. The seasoned infantry of 346th Infantry Division are arriving in significant numbers. They have marched largely by night. They go straight into the attack. At 11:30, the brigade reports a heavy attack developing from the east. It falls on number 4 Commando in the area of Hauge and Salonelles. Number 45, Royal Marine Commando, is in a harder position still. German infantry come searching across the brigade area with fighting patrols. Artillery concentrations go before them, probing the line for a weak point. In the days that follow, the Germans make determined efforts to dislodge the brigade. The key to the whole line is the high ground around Plein. From here on, 1st Special Service Brigade fights as a single formation rather than as separate commandos. Lieutenant Colonel Derek Mills-Roberts leads number 6 Commando across the bridges at 13:30. He does not take the road to Plein. He chooses to approach across country instead. The column follows the bank of the River Orne. Near a quarry, it turns right and climbs the hill. Just below the village, it halts to reorganize. A reconnaissance patrol goes forward. It comes back without its commander. The enemy are in and around Le Plein. The commando presses on. It comes out through the gate of a long meadow, onto a road running through the village. A man greets Mills Roberts there. He wears corduroy trousers and a tweed jacket. He introduces himself courteously as the owner of the solid stone farm ahead. He suggests it would make an excellent observation post. Mills Roberts makes plain what an observation post attracts. The offer stands. The Frenchman identifies himself as a former warrant officer of the cuirassiers. He then gives a substantial amount of useful information. Armed with it, Mills Roberts sends a fighting patrol into the southern part of the village. The patrol is to push on south along the ridge towards Bréville. Enemy activity is detected on the high ground. Commando headquarters is spotted in return. Turning back, Mills Roberts sees one of his signalers with his hair neatly parted by a bullet. The round has lifted a flap of scalp and hair clear of the skull. The signaller flattens it carefully back down and returns to his set. At the northern end of the village, another fight is already underway. Number 3, Commando's cycle element has gone ahead of the main body. It has joined 9th Parachute Battalion on the ridge. Its first probe into the village is beaten off and the troop commander wounded. Captain Ponsford takes over. Ponsford sends the sergeant major back to reorganize the troop. He goes forward himself around the right flank and finds a covered approach. The troop clears the houses overlooking the village square. Ponsford places a section to give covering fire. The 2-inch mortar proves particularly valuable here. Its high explosive bombs are fired at a low angle. They do considerable damage to the morale of the German garrison. The firefight swings the troops' way. Ponsford leads his men in a charge across the open square. They seize the school, the main center of resistance in the north of the village. The troop sweeps through. Between 6 and 8 of the enemy are killed. More than 20 are taken prisoner, along with several horse-drawn vehicles. The troop comes through the assault without loss. It then takes up positions east of the village. Number 6, Commando arrives at the southern end of Le Plein. Ponsford does not know that the rest of his commando has been diverted to Ranville. He places his men under Mills Roberts's orders. Number 6, Commando is thin on the ground at this stage. The men describe themselves as little more than a blob on the ridge, but they have a surviving naval bombardment officer. His task is to call down the guns of the fleet. Now that the brigade holds the high ground, he can reach his ships a few kilometers offshore. From the farmhouse observation post, enemy troops are spotted in the orchards and woods north of Bréville. A destroyer is tasked to engage. Mills Roberts watches the first shell land. It falls close to the left, in line with his own position. He tells the bombardment officer it is no good. The officer explains the difficulty. The HMS Saumarez is underway, and a moving ship makes a hard target harder still, but he has 2 capital ships available, and both are at anchor. An anchored vessel has a reasonable chance of hitting a shore target. A ship making way does not. One of the battleships fires a broadside. Her 15-inch shells crash into the wood. Captain Ponsford supplies the footnote. The correction of fire brings the next shell down close to the group standing at the observation post. It opens a massive crater and tears branches from the trees overhead. The air, Ponsford recalls, is blue with the language of Lieutenant Colonel Mills Roberts. Away to the south, the fighting patrol reaches the church at the center of Bréville. The Germans are there in strength. They also hold Château Saint-Côme, further south again. The patrol is ordered to withdraw. Behind it lies roughly 350 meters of open field. The commando covers the withdrawal as best it can with artillery support. But Captain Pyman, the troop commander, has been killed in the village. Wounded men are still lying there. A second fighting patrol goes in. A jeep is piled with the wounded and races back to the commando's position. Twilight is falling. Mills Roberts notes that dusk is always a good time for this kind of work. It is the hour when no rifleman or machine gunner can be certain of his aim. Number 6. Commando digs in. The farm area is fortified to make a secure foothold on the ridge. Patrols screen the work and keep the enemy at a distance. The German positions in Bréville lie roughly 350 meters from the farm orchard. The obvious line runs along the far boundary of the orchard facing the village. Mills Roberts rejects it. He digs his main line some 60 meters further back, inside the orchard. The reasoning is simple. An obvious position invites shelling and mortaring. Forward of the main line, he places standing patrols. They will give early and accurate warning of any advance towards the orchard. The commandos dig two-man slit trenches with care. They disturb neither the natural camouflage of the hedgerow nor the long grass in front of the positions. Within 2 hours, the work is done. The forward hedgerow is duly shelled. Beyond that, the enemy fire is occasional and inaccurate. A shell here, a machine gun, burst there. The assessment is that the Germans do not know where the commandos are. The fire is nervous rather than purposeful. Further east, Number 6 Commando's cycle troop has pushed on as planned to Varaville. This is part of the area the brigade is originally meant to dominate. The troop takes over the defense of the village from 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion. The Canadians have already blown a bridge on the causeway across the inundations, but the German forces have not collapsed. 6th Airborne Division's strength is reduced by the scattering of the night drop. Holding a position as far forward as Varaville proves impractical. The cycle troop is ordered back to the eastern flank of the airborne bridgehead on the Amfreville Ridge. It is sent to cover the brigade's left, along the Salinelles to Ranville Road. Enemy infiltration through the low ground near Salinelles is judged most likely there. For 1st Special Service Brigade, June 6, 1944, ends in a position that can hardly be called secure. Number 3 Commando is still detached at Ranville. Number 4 Commando is still digging in. Number 45 Royal Marine Commando is isolated at Merville Village. A substantial gap remains between the brigade and the airborne troops on either side. In the early hours of June 7th, the chance is taken to bring number 45 in. The commando moves to positions south of Salinelles, while number 6 Commando fights for the southern half of Plein. Another action is developing to the north. It begins on the afternoon of June 6th, on the road east out of Salinelles. Number 45, Royal Marine Commando, is no longer under the man who trained it. Its commanding officer has been wounded, and Major Nicole Gray has taken over. Gray sets off eastward towards Franceville Plage and Merville Village. C Troop leads on bicycles as the advance guard. Just beyond Salinelles, the cycling commandos turn off the main road. They head due east and pass out of sight of the column behind them. Commando headquarters and E Troop follow the road on foot. They walk directly towards a defended radar control station. They are within about 200 meters of it before anyone sees it. The station should have been cleared already. That task fell to 9th Parachute Battalion after its attack on the Merville Battery. It has not been done. Both sides open fire in the same moment. Marine Irvine of E Troop's leading section stands his ground in the open. He fires from the standing position at a running German at something under 200 meters and hits him. But the enemy defenses are well sighted. Commando headquarters and part of E Troop are pinned in the roadside ditch. The rest withdraw into Salonelles. Those in the ditch have two choices: a long crawl back along it or a wait until dark. Gray orders his mortar section into action. The mortar crews have carried their weapons and their ammunition since the landing. They are delighted to be given a target. 30 rounds go down on the enemy position, fired for effect. Under that cover, the commando bypasses the radar station to the south and continues towards Merville. The advance guard reaches the battery first. It finds the position reoccupied by the enemy. 9th Parachute Battalion attacked and captured the battery in the early hours of the morning. But the guns were only lightly damaged in the assault, and many of the German gunners survived. They hid beneath their guns, in the sumps cut to catch spent cartridge cases. Through the day, the battery has come back into action, again and again. Each time, the cruiser Arethusa has silenced it from the sea. Gray begins preparing orders to take the battery a second time. Then brigade headquarters intervenes. He is to bypass it and occupy Merville village for the night. The advance to Franceville Plage is cancelled. The reason lies several kilometers to the south. Number 3 Commando has been diverted to Ranville, and the brigade's line is thinner for it. Without that commando, number 45 would be pushed out beyond any prospect of support. Merville village is largely in ruins. Heavy bombing before the invasion has flattened it. The civilians have gone. German snipers have taken their place in the rubble, and they have to be cleared, position by position. The village is not finally secure until 1900. Even then, there is no rest. Troops must be sighted and positions prepared against a counterattack. Commando headquarters goes into 2 partly demolished cottages. A large farmhouse stands undamaged nearby, and it draws envious glances. It is passed over, in favor of the ruins. That evening, an enemy self-propelled gun demolishes it. Number 45 has few trenches to dig. The men barricade the ruins instead and prepare fire positions among them. The evening passes quietly enough. Tommy cookers come out in carefully shielded corners. These are small, solid fuel stoves carried by every man. The Marines make their first hot drink in roughly 12 hours. Each Bergen holds 2 composite ration packs known as compo, a day's food in each. The contents are still a novelty. The novelty is already beginning to wear thin. Out at the radar station, most of E Troop are still in the ditch as darkness falls. They stay there through the night. They rejoin the commando only when it pulls back towards Salonelles. As the long column of Royal Marines moves out through the village, one moment breaks the silence. The leading troop commander sees movement behind an open window. He thrusts his rifle through it and shouts that he has whoever is inside covered. An elderly Frenchwoman looks back at him. Her hair is in curlers. Her expression is no less formidable than his own. She says simply, "Ah, c'est anglais." Number 45. Royal Marine Commando comes into its new positions south of Salonelles in the early hours of June 7th. It is not alone for long. At 3 o'clock, Number 3 Commando comes up from Le Bas de Ranville. It takes position along the Ranville to Salonelles Road, southwest of Amfreville. That places it in the center of the brigade line, adding depth to the whole. Its rear elements become Lovat's reserve. For the first time since the landing, The brigade holds a single continuous position. It does not hold it for long. Gale's order at brigade headquarters that morning changes everything for number 45. The coastal belt at Franceville Plage is to be cleared. The order is a scaled-down revival of the original plan, and it comes as a surprise. The commando has only just moved into the ground south of Salonelles. It is now to leave it and carry out its original task. While Gray is at brigade headquarters receiving those orders, his jeeps arrive. They bring the unit's first resupply of ammunition and rations since the landing. Both matter. The ammunition gives the commando the means to fight a real action. The jeeps also allow the wounded to be moved back from the aid post to the field ambulances. The orders group assembles in a field near Salonelles. It is a large group. Halfway through Gray's orders, the Germans begin to mortar it. Gray takes no notice. After a few salvos, he remarks lightly that the bad men are getting more accurate. To Gray, the Germans are always the bad men. The group then moves into a neighboring ditch, and he finishes. C Troop leads the advance out of positions it has only just begun to dig. The commando heads back east, towards Franceville Plage. The seaside village sits between two extensive coastal battery positions. Both are damaged, both are still firmly held. C Troop uses the cover of the hedgerows and reaches the houses on the southern outskirts. It finds no enemy there. The troop swings left into a wood, ground from which it can cover the final assault. The wood turns out to be an abandoned enemy position, complete with ready-dug slit trenches. From there, C Troop can support the rest of the commando. A, B, and E troops have the assault. Their first task is a German bunker. Beyond it runs the main street of Franceville Plage, codenamed Piccadilly. B and E troops do not get far. Heavy mortar fire meets them as they approach the bunker. Both troops are driven back into cover in the houses on the outskirts. Captain Beadle moves forward to restore the initiative. He takes E Troop's PIAT group with him. The PIAT is the projector, infantry, anti-tank, a spring-launched weapon fired from the shoulder. The group is Lance Corporal Davis and Marines Lee and Lowe. The intention is to put a bomb through one of the pillbox slits. They fire one bomb. Then heavy fire comes down on them. Davis is killed. Lowe is wounded. Beadle and Lee go back out into the open. They bring in the wounded man and the weapon. Gray's radio communications with his forward troops have broken down. He does not know what is happening ahead of his tactical headquarters, so he goes forward himself. Under his eyes, the bunker is finally overcome. The headquarters group follows the advance up Piccadilly. A direct hit from an anti-tank gun kills the regimental sergeant major and another headquarters Marine. German resistance is stiffening. A and D troops move up to take the lead. They advance on either side of the main road. A troop meets heavy fire from the houses on the eastern side. The enemy is concentrating there in strength. The troop has to clear each house individually. Gray still cannot call for supporting artillery. He cannot report his position to brigade either. The opposition is very stiff throughout the village. Gray directs the fighting himself, with a skeleton headquarters. At one point, the support troop is pinned down and cannot move. The fire comes from an MG-34 in a well-protected position at the top of the main street. Gray gathers a handful of men and leads a bayonet charge against it. He shoots the gunner with his revolver. The rest are put to flight. The fight lasts all day and into the evening. It is not an even one. The commandos have spent the day within sight of a sea, black with Allied shipping, and men and material coming ashore in overwhelming quantity. What they face here is a company of 736th Grenadier Regiment. With it are gunners from the 9 coastal guns in the area. With them again are Osttruppen of 642nd Ost Battalion, Soviet prisoners of war, pressed into German service. Against that mixture, the Royal Marines are outnumbered, lightly equipped, and cut off from support. The enemy is forced back at last, to the far end of Piccadilly, near the beach, but the Commando has exhausted itself. It must consolidate before it can go further. Private Arnold is sent forward under a flag of truce. He is a German speaker, attached from number 10 into Allied Commando. His message to the garrison in the coastal bunkers is that 3 divisions stand behind the Commandos and that further resistance is useless. The answer is heavy machine gun and mortar fire. Arnold runs for cover. The reason for the refusal becomes clear at about 2100. The enemy launches a strong counterattack. Its aim is not simply to retake Franceville Plage, it is to destroy number 45 Royal Marine Commando. The Germans attack from the south. They intend to drive the Commandos north into a pocket in front of the very pillboxes Arnold has just invited to surrender. The brigade report is direct about the position. The Commando has taken heavy casualties in the assault and lost its heavy weapons. It cannot break up the enemy attacks. It cannot give fire support to the troops still in the village. Grey has no means of consulting brigade and no means of calling for support. He takes the only course open to him. The Commando will break out of the encirclement forming around it and establish new positions to the south, at Merville village. Dusk is coming on. It is already becoming hard to tell friend from foe. Grey takes a troop onto a sandy, scrub-covered dune on the eastern outskirts of Franceville Plage. From there, the surrounding ground can be watched. The Germans are already working round to the rear and closing in. C Troop is still in the wood, covering the left flank. It has by now restored radio communication with Commando headquarters. Grey orders it to move round to the right and clear the eastern side of the village. The remaining troops extricate themselves with difficulty and make for the dune. Patrols go out to collect stragglers and to bring in wounded left behind in the fighting. The extrication takes an hour. C Troop attacks north shortly after receiving its orders. 15 minutes of fighting gives it a school building. From the school, it can cover the troops assembling on the dune. The counterattack against the school comes at once and is vigorous. C Troop holds it. In holding it, the troop saves the Commando from being cut off entirely. The withdrawal to Merville village is complete at about 2300. Even then, the fighting is not quite done. The Marines arrive to find a group of Germans at work in their own trenches of the previous evening, deepening them. The Germans are taken prisoner. Under supervision, they are encouraged to carry on with the digging while the exhausted Commandos watch. Captain Rushforth comes in among them, wounded while leading C Troop's attack. A wheelbarrow is found, and he is wheeled to safety in it. 35 of number 45 Royal Marine Commandos dead remain in Franceville Plage. June 8, 1944, begins quietly for number 45 Royal Marine Commando in the ruins of Merville village. It does not stay quiet. Warnings of an imminent attack arrive early. With them comes an order from brigade. The village is to be held at all costs. Ammunition is short. So is food. The Commando has fought all the previous day and has not been resupplied since. To conserve what is left, the snipers take a leading role. They work to keep the German probing patrols away from C and E troops. The first serious attack comes during the late morning from the direction of the Merville battery. A and C troops take the brunt of it. They drive it off after some close-quarter fighting. The action leaves 8 stretcher cases and no obvious way to move them. The problem solves itself in an unlikely fashion. 2 German ambulances drive into the Commandos' positions by mistake. The casualties are loaded aboard, and the enemy respects the process. Lance Corporal Saunders, of No. 10 into Allied Commando, goes with them. He is a German speaker. He attempts to bluff his way through the German lines with his cargo. He is taken prisoner. He escapes later and reports that the wounded are being well cared for. A second attack follows, again from the direction of the battery. This time, a second echelon comes in quietly from the east. Naval gunfire drives it back, but the leading elements reach the village defenses before it does. Gray's own morning almost ends abruptly. He goes forward to visit a troop position and walks into a German machine gun team. The surprise, he later admits, is equal on both sides. He shoots one of the crew with his rifle. The rifle jams on the reload. He gets a round off from his .45 pistol at the second man before the German can fire. Gray returns to Commando headquarters. He finds that the adjutant has liberated a bottle of champagne and is sharing it out among the headquarters troop. Gray demands his share and then complains about the quality. The adjutant puts this lack of generous spirit down to his commanding officer's recent experience. The afternoon goes much the same way. Probing attacks and patrols are held off. A steady mortaring continues throughout. One Marine calls it a wearing experience. As the afternoon advances, the tempo of enemy activity rises. At 1700, a message reaches Gray from Lovat. Attempts to relieve No. 45 Royal Marine Commando have failed. The ridge is more than 3 kilometers away, and the brigade has nothing to spare. The message means what it does not say. The commando must get itself out. The PIAT ammunition is gone. So is the ammunition for the 2-inch mortars. Then the expected attack comes in, and this time it has armor behind it. A troop of Sturmgeschütze, German assault guns, stands off at a distance. It sets about demolishing the houses of Merville around the commandos' positions. Those on the eastern outskirts begin to burn. Gray concludes that he cannot wait for last light. The fighting withdrawal must begin at once. At about 1800, E Troop leaves its positions and leads the commando out, westward towards Franceville. Help is rapidly organized from outside. The Naval Forward Observation Officer arranges for a destroyer to fire on the village. The salvo is timed to land minutes after C Troop, the last to pull back, has left its positions. The plan works. The commando gets roughly 1.5 kilometers clear without being pursued. Then, the luck runs out. Approaching the Franceville Ridge, the column runs into enemy positions. It must find a way through the German line and across the open ground beyond. The direct route is blocked. There are minefields to the right and more enemy positions to the left. Gray takes the unit left along a more covered route. E Troop stays where it is to hold the enemy's attention to the front. Marine Green is ordered to take a light machine gun into position on the right of a hedge and engage. He finds low branches and long grass make it impossible to fire from cover. He abandons the cover altogether. He runs out into the open under heavy and accurate fire and engages the enemy position. His fire silences it. A bullet lodges in his magazine during the engagement. Spare magazines are thrown out to him, and he keeps firing long bursts into the position opposite. Sergeant Brown engages another position some 50 meters away with No. 68 anti-tank rifle grenades. He then comes out of cover to engage 2 more. These are shaped charge grenades, not designed for use against men. Bursting in hedgerows and earthen banks, they prove effective all the same. Both remaining positions are neutralized. E-Troop's fire becomes so dominant that the troop attacks. It drives the enemy from the position entirely. 2 8-centimeter mortars are taken, along with 2 machine guns and a motorcycle and sidecar. Captain Beadle is instrumental in the breakthrough. His troop is surrounded and attacked repeatedly. He picks out the enemy position, causing the most casualties. He leads the counterattack against it himself. The assault destroys the position and inflicts heavy casualties. It cuts open the only route out for the whole commando. Number 45, Royal Marine Commando, reaches the brigade lines between 2000 and 2100. It comes in through number 4 Commando's positions. Lovat meets them there. In the time since the landing, they have fought their way from Sword Beach, and they have been the principal fighting unit in 3 separate actions. The whole exhausted commando is fed and bedded down in the area of Le Plein Church. Brigade headquarters personnel stand the sentries for them. The night passes. In the morning of June 9th, the commando moves into a defensive position in the Franceville area. Number 6, Commando, is on its left. Brigade headquarters is on its right. There is slight enemy activity during the morning and nothing more. The rest of the day passes quietly, and the Marines dig in properly for the first time since the landing. Only the snipers persist. They are a constant nuisance and worst inside the village itself. From here on, 1st Special Service Brigade fights as a single formation rather than as separate commandos. By the morning of June 10th, the men of 1st Special Service Brigade are nearly out on their feet. Almost none have slept properly since before the landing. A man who lies back for a moment drops off in mid-conversation. He does it with mortar bombs bursting around the slit trenches. The mortaring on No. 4 Commando's front at Hauge intensifies at about 9:30. Half an hour later, 2 Germans come forward carrying a radio. They have come to observe the effects of the bombardment. F Troop shoots them down some 20 meters in front of the position before either can get back. Continuous mortar fire falls around No. 4 Commando for the next 5 hours, and its intensity grows. The Commandos survive it well enough because they are below ground. The brigade major comes forward to see how they are faring. He insists the men should have a hot meal. The sergeant major explains that they are not particularly hungry. Moments later, the brigade major has to jump for a trench himself. At about 1700, a forward observer bombardment arrives in No. 4 Commando's positions. His task is to direct naval gunfire from the shore. Germans are massing on the edge of the wood opposite F Troop, and he means to bring the guns of the battleship Ramillies onto them. She lies some 10 kilometers offshore. The commandos wait. Then the ground erupts in the middle of their own positions. The officer is not given the opportunity for a second ranging shot. Control of the counter-bombardment passes to a forward observation officer who directs the Army's guns rather than the fleet's. He landed with the Airborne Division 2 evenings before. The troop receives him cautiously, being still nervous about short rounds. He ranges the field guns onto the Germans with 12 rounds and breaks up the attack. Then he leaves. Those 12 rounds are half his gun's ammunition allocation for the day. The German mortars work under no such constraint. The brigade has taken heavy losses by the time the German attack comes in that evening. The commandos hold. Murdoch MacDougall lies in an orchard under machine gun fire, directing his 2 mortar men. Sergeant Major McVeigh fires a Bren gun. Elsewhere, a group of non-commissioned officers works against a German patrol caught in a ditch, some 25 men strong. They throw grenades until they have none left. Then they lie a few meters off and throw back the German stick grenades as they come over. They finish it with Thompson's submachine gun fire. Half the patrol is killed. The rest surrender. The first waves approaching the commando lines falter. They reform. Then the attacks dissolve. To the south, Bréville village still stands. It sits at the base of the only German salient into the brigade's line, and it has to come out. The Black Watch attack it in their first action in Normandy and lose 200 men in the attempt. The next attempt goes in through No. 6 Commando's positions. During it, Lord Lovat is severely wounded. Lieutenant Colonel Derek Mills Roberts takes command of 1st Special Service Brigade in his place. The village falls on June 12, 1944. It is taken by 12th Parachute Battalion, badly under strength, with 60 men of an independent parachute company and a squadron of the 13th 18th Royal Hussar. They overrun 2 German companies and secure Bréville by midnight. It ends the sustained series of attacks and counterattacks that have dominated the week. The cost is severe on both sides. The parachute battalion goes in with 160 men and takes 142 casualties. The 858th Grenadier Regiment of 346th Infantry Division loses more than 400 men from a strength of 564 all ranks. That same day, 4th Special Service Brigade moves into the Orne line. No. 48 Royal Marine Commando digs in at Salonelles, at the coastal end of the ridge. It is now the second half of June 1944. The invasion is a fortnight old. Along the Franceville Ridge, on the eastern edge of the whole Allied lodgment, 1st Special Service Brigade has stopped moving. It will hold this ground for the better part of 2 months. By this point, the brigade has changed hands. Lovat is gone, wounded at Bréville on June 12th. Brigadier Derek Mills Roberts commands now. Lieutenant Colonel Lewis takes over No. 6 Commando in his place. No. 4 Commando is under Lieutenant Colonel Mende. The 4 units hold their positions along the ridge. No. 6 Commando at Le Plein, No. 3 Commando at the Château d'Infreville, No. 4 Commando in a chateau above Hoga, No. 45 Royal Marine Commando to the north. From the middle of June, the days blur into one another. Shells and mortar bombs fall by day and by night. Patrols go out into the dark towards a farm in no man's land called the Grande Ferme du Buisson, and come back with prisoners or with men missing. Snipers work the hedgerows. Flares go up over the forward positions at intervals, betraying an enemy as nervous as the men watching him. It is not a battle. It is attrition, day after day, and it wears the edge off the commandos, week by week. There are small mercies in the 3rd week of the month. The medical officer of No. 6 Commando sets up a rest post behind the line. Wine, blankets, beds and pillows are laid on, and 9 men at a time take a day out of the war. Headquarters has chicken for dinner one evening. An officer's mess opens in a farm. The divisional journal reaches No. 45 Royal Marine Commando, and the troops look forward to it. The recognition comes down from above in these same days. A message from General Montgomery goes out to all ranks, praising the conduct of the airborne and the commandos in the recent fighting. Soon after, Brigadier Mills Roberts reads No. 3, Commando the Order of the Day of the Corps Commander, Lieutenant General Crocker, who declares himself entirely satisfied with a difficult task. Well done. But the ridge takes its toll, and some of it comes from behind. On June 22nd, a patrol of No. 6 Commando is caught in the open by its own artillery. 1 man is killed and 10 are wounded. The same day, the commando attacks a strongpoint under a barrage, and shells falling short kill another man and injure 11 more. 2 disasters from friendly guns in a single day. There is loss the enemy inflicts too. Earlier in the month, a fighting patrol of No. 45 Royal Marine Commando brings back word that Captain Grucock and 3 others are dead. Later, a shell kills 2 sergeants of the same unit in half a minute. And one night, a sentry of No. 4 Commando challenges a figure creeping towards the wire. The man does not answer. He is shot dead. He turns out to be a civilian, carrying a wireless set. He is thought to have been one of the agents working for the Allies behind the German line. Not all of it is endurance. Around the 3rd week of June, Lieutenant Littlejohn of No. 4 Commando sets out to work his way through the enemy positions to Varaville. Night after night, he tries and fails. He lies up in the open, immediately in front of the German defences, waiting. When he finally moves, he walks straight into an enemy patrol on the Gonneville Road. He drops a grenade among them, runs, and is shot and wounded. He still gets back to report before he is taken away. And on the night of June 19th, a patrol of No. 45 Royal Marine Commando destroys 3 machine guns in their pits, kills several of the enemy, brings back a prisoner, and does it all without a single casualty. Through the last days of June, the picture of the enemy slowly fills in. Prisoners come from Grenadier Regiment 857 and 858, many of them Poles pressed into German service, worn units patched together and reformed. One prisoner brings word that Captain Hilton Jones of Brigade Headquarters has been captured, wounded, and is being held in a German aid post. And through it all, the reinforcements trickle out to the ridge in 1s and 2s and dozens, never quite enough to bring the commandos back to strength. By the end of June 1944, the line has not moved. The brigade is still on the ridge, still being shelled, still sending its patrols out into the dark. Ahead of it lie 6 more weeks of exactly this before the order finally comes to advance. July opens with the brigade still on the ridge, and July is where the ridge begins to feel endless. The diary of these weeks reads almost the same every day. Shells and mortar bombs by day and by night. Patrols out towards Longuemare Farm and the Grande Ferme du Buisson and back before first light. Snipers in the orchards. Enemy aircraft using the low cloud. A prisoner brought in. A man lost. A truck hit. The war goes on around the brigade in enormous events, and the brigade watches most of them from its foxholes. It watches a great deal. Flying bombs, the new German V1s, pass overhead heading for England, and the men see one come down within sight of their positions. On July 7th, 450 bombers of Bomber Command drop 2,000 tons on Caen, while the commandos look on. The next day, the attack on the city begins in earnest. Caen is reported fallen on July 9th. Though only the northern half has gone, the far bank will hold for another fortnight. The killing on the ridge is close and small and often accidental. On July 2nd, 3 men of No. 3 Commando are wounded by their own brigade's mortars. Corporal Wraith of No. 6 Commando is blinded by a booby trap and makes his own way back to the lines. Lieutenant Elms is hit approaching the German positions and dies of his wounds. A whole patrol walks into 10 wounded and 1 missing, all from booby traps, in a single night. And twice, the enemy tries the oldest trick on this front. A patrol under Lieutenant Willers meets a group of men in British denims, one in a British helmet, and moves towards them as friends. a German voice shouts a warning in its own language, and the enemy opens fire. The Commandos fight them off. It is the second time on this ridge that men in British uniform have nearly killed a British patrol. There is skill in it too, not only endurance. Major Porteous, who holds the Victoria Cross from Dieppe, leads a strong raid out of Hauge against the Gonneville positions. The German machine guns are on fixed lines and sweep just over the raiders' heads. Grenades will not shift the defenders. Porteous brings his men out under mortar fire. On another night, a patrol destroys 3 enemy machine guns and comes back without a scratch. In the second week of July, the units begin to move along the line. On July 7th, No. 4 Commando hands Hauge to 41 Royal Marine Commando and marches to Bréville, taking over from an airborne battalion. There, on Bastille Day, something happens that has not happened before in this war. Captain Lofi and 6 men of the French troop are given leave to join the celebrations at Bayeux. It is the first time French soldiers fighting on French soil can meet their own people in peace. That same day, July 14th, the brigade buries its dead in ceremony. The 1st Special Service Brigade War Memorial is unveiled in the church square at Le Plein. A detachment from every commando marches past. A French chaplain, the Abbé de Norrois, conducts the service. German fighters pass overhead in the middle of it, and the anti-aircraft guns open up. The medals come at the same time as the memorial, which is the shape of this war. On July 16th, Lieutenant Colonel Dawson returns from England, recovered from the wounds he took on D-Day, and resumes command of No. 4 Commando. That afternoon, General Montgomery pins the Distinguished Service Order on him. Captain Kiefer of the French troop receives the Military Cross beside him. 2 other men are decorated in the same list, and the diary notes, without comment, that both have since been killed. Then, on July 18th, the ground shakes as it has not shaken since D-Day. The great attack southeast of the bridgehead begins. The Commandos have a grandstand view. From No. 4 Commando's headquarters, the men watch wave after wave of heavy bombers cross overhead. The diaries of the 4 units count them differently, but the order is in thousands of aircraft, and the tonnage of bombs in thousands more, falling on Colombelles and the southern faubourg of Caen, and on Troarn. 660 guns open behind them. 3 armoured divisions and the Canadians go forward across the Caen plain. For once, the sky belongs entirely to the Allies. Not a single German aircraft appears over the sector all day, kept down by the rocket-firing typhoons. Through the last week of July, the pattern returns to shelling, patrols, and propaganda broadcasts across the wire, inviting a worn-down enemy to desert. A few do. The prisoners now come from tired units, Grenadier Regiment 857, and its neighbours, patched with Poles and old men. The Commandos take their reinforcements where they can, 30 men at a time, from beach units and holding units. At the end of the month, the whole brigade shifts. On July 31st, No. 6 Commando marches out of Le Plein and takes over ground on the edge of the Bois de Bavent from a familiar name, 9th Parachute Battalion. No. 4 Commando leaves Bréville for the same wood. No. 3 Commando and No. 45 Royal Marine Commando are ordered south to Le Mesnil. After 7 weeks, the ridge is behind them. The advance has not begun, but the brigade is being gathered up and pointed east. The first half of August finds the brigade in the Bois de Bavent and around Le Mesnil. The character of the fighting has not changed. Mortars and shell fire fall on the forward positions day after day. Patrols creep out through the trees. snipers wait. Men are killed 1 and 2 at a time, by mortar bomb, by sniper, by booby trap. Number 45. Royal Marine Commando wires its front and lays booby traps of its own, and the Germans set theirs, and both sides feel their way through hedgerows in the dark. The routine now has its own small institutions. Number 45, Royal Marine Commando, starts a daily news sheet and calls it the Slit Trench Sentinel. Men go back in twos and dozens to a naval rest camp, to a cinema at Luc-sur-Mer. The prisoners who come in are worn men from tired units, Poles and pioneers pressed into the line, laying mines until they are caught. Then, in the middle of the month, the enemy begins to slip away. On August 16th, the brigade suspects that the Germans are pulling out of the Bois de Bavent. Deserters confirm it. Fresh units have relieved the old ones, and now they too are going. Preparations are made to advance in pursuit. The order carries a name: Operation Paddle. On August 17th, the pursuit begins. For the first time since June 6th, the brigade moves forward, and it moves fast. Number 4, Commando leads, clearing the route through the wood, lifting booby traps, marking the way. The German positions are found abandoned. Bavent is entered by mid-morning and taken without a fight. Behind Number 4 come the others. Number 3, Commando pushes on, through Petiteville towards Varaville, the very ground its cycle troop could not hold in June, and this time the enemy has gone. Captain Ponsford reconnoiters the bridge over the river dives and finds it standing, but guarded. For the next days, the brigade advances across a country of rivers and marshes and blown bridges, feeling for a crossing of the dives. The going is wet. Patrols probe forward at Vacaville and find the bridge down and the far bank held. Men are still being lost, a few each day, killed and wounded at the water's edge. The intelligence officer's notes for these days survive water-stained and half illegible. So many streams does the brigade cross. On the night of August 19th, the crossing goes in near Dozulé. The units ford the dives and form up beyond it. Number 6, Commando marches through the darkness to secure the heights of Angoville, east of the river. Before dawn, on August 20th, the brigade attacks. It moves up along a railway line in the dark, turns off, and comes on a village held by the enemy. A German is shot as he steps out, and the fight begins. The troops clear the village house by house and take prisoners. Number 6. Commando storms the heights of Angoville and holds them. And then, the ground the brigade has taken becomes a trap. All through the daylight hours of August 20th, the brigade is surrounded. Self-propelled guns fire down the valley. Mortar and shell fire falls without pause. A patrol of Number 45 Royal Marine Commando, sent to make contact across the valley, is pinned down, and its troop commander killed. 2 counterattacks come in. Both are thrown back. Captain Beadle, who took his men through the pillboxes at Franceville Plage in June, is wounded here in the arm. That night, at last, transport carrying food and ammunition breaks through to the surrounded commandos. The cost of that single day is 6 killed and 45 wounded across the brigade. But the position holds. On August 21st, something happens that has not happened in 76 days. British troops pass through the brigade's lines and advance in front of it. The men of an airborne battalion move up the road and on towards the enemy. For the first time since the beach, 1st Special Service Brigade is not the forward edge of the Allied line. Around it, the whole eastern flank is moving. The parachute brigades push north on Dozulé. The air landing brigade drives for Pont-l'Évêque. The brigade clears the last ground around it. the bridge and the farm at Le Caen, and consolidates. By August 22nd, the enemy is gone from the front entirely. An American pilot, who has been living and fighting with the French resistance, comes into the lines with word that the Germans pulled out in the night. The brigade moves northeast by foot and by lorry and passes into a Normandy the war has not touched. For the first time since June 6th, the men walk among undamaged houses in villages full of people. The French come out to meet them with flowers and with cries of Vive l'Angleterre. The pursuit runs on to the end of the month, over the Touques, towards the Seine. Attacks are ordered on Pont-l'Évêque and cancelled when the enemy slips away again in the dark. The brigade advances by night through Bréville and encircles it, only for the Germans to abandon the town before the trap can close and fall back across the Seine. On August 26th, after 83 days in the line without rest, the brigade is finally ordered to stand down. It disposes its men for sleep, rather than for battle. The news that comes in over these days tells the men how far the war has run past them. Paris has fallen. The Allied armies are at the Seine and beyond, and in these last quiet days, 2 men walk back into the lines who were given up long ago. Company Sergeant Major Edwards, taken on a patrol east of Longomar Farm on the night of June 27th, escaped his camp with an American pilot, lived 2 months among the farms and the resistance harrying German supply lines, and gave himself up to a British division advancing on Lisieux. And Lance Corporal Reed, of No. 10 Inter-Allied Commando, who has been a prisoner since D-Day, and whose story reaches back to the one place this whole series began. For the brigade, the war in Normandy is over. Through the first days of September, it waits in reserve near Beauzeville and Bouleville, resting, refitting, hearing the news come in of armies racing east. The Americans reach Metz, the British take Antwerp. The whole front is running away towards Germany, and for once the Commandos are behind it. Then the order comes that every man has waited for. The brigade is going home. It hands back its transport, gives up all but a few vehicles, and marches for the coast. On September 6th, it reaches the transit camp at Arromanches, on the very shore where the invasion came in 3 months before. The men spend a last wet night under canvas in France, short of blankets, a meal served at midnight. On September 7th, 1944, they embark. Number 4, Commando sails on one ship, Number 6 on another, Number 3 and the Royal Marines on others again, out of the harbour and into the Channel in the dark. On September 8th, they come in to Southampton and Gosport. A band is on the quay to meet them. They go into camp in Sussex, and within days, the brigade is on leave. They had landed on June 6, 1944, as 4 separate commandos, put ashore to seize a flank and hold it. They came home, having held it for 83 days, from Sword Beach to the Seine.
I'm not giving up. I am selling the building.
The final season of FX's The Bear.
The restaurant is flooded.
Everything's either going to be okay.
No, stop!
Or not.
We are outgunned and we are outmanned, but we have each other.
FX's The Bear, the final season. All episodes now streaming on Disney+.
And that concludes today's episode. The brigade came ashore on June 6th as 4 separate commandos. Number 3, Number 4, Number 6, and Number 45, Royal Marine Commando, each with its own colonel, its own history, its own way of fighting. They were put on the sand to seize the far left of the whole invasion and to hold it whatever came. They held it for 83 days. They held it through the first afternoon, when No. 6 Commando climbed to Le Plein and dug in 60 meters back inside an orchard, and the guns of the fleet came down among their own headquarters. They held it through Franceville Plage, where No. 45 Royal Marine Commando fought all day and half the night, lost 35 dead in the streets, and came back to Merville village in the dark to fight again. They held it through Bréville, where Lovat fell. They held it through the long weeks on the ridge, where the killing was small and constant and sometimes came from their own guns, and the spring went out of men who had landed young. And then, in the middle of August, the enemy broke in front of them, and the brigade that had only ever held now advanced. It crossed the dives under fire. It stood surrounded on the heights of Angerville through a whole day of counterattacks, and held there too. And on the morning after, British soldiers walked up the road and passed through its line and went on towards the enemy. For the first time since the beach, the brigade was not the forward edge of the war. Beyond that line lay a Normandy the fighting had not reached, whole villages standing, people in the streets. The men walked into it, worn down to a fraction of their strength, and the French came out to meet them with flowers. They had done what they were landed to do. On September 7th, they embarked at Arromanches, on the same shore the invasion had crossed 3 months before. On September 8th, they came into Southampton, and a band was waiting on the quay. Within days, they were on leave, scattered to homes across Britain, and the flank they had held became a line on a map that the war had already left far behind. This account was built from the war diaries of the 4 Commandos themselves and from the historians who have preserved this campaign, from Charles Messenger and Tim Saunders and James Ladd, from Donald Gilchrist, who fought on this ground and wrote it down, and from Jeff Steele. To these authors and to the men whose memories they carried into print, we owe our thanks. Where the record is contested, or a name or a fate not yet certain, we have said so rather than fill the silence. That is a debt owed to the men who were there. For maps, photographs, original documents, and the full source base behind this series, please visit www.worldwar2-sof.com. You have been listening to the Special Forces in World War II podcast. I am your host, Michael Wires, signing off. And that concludes this mission briefing, fellow warriors of knowledge. We've navigated through the trenches of information, delving deep into the battlefields of history. As we wrap up this episode in our campaign for understanding, remember that knowledge is your most potent weapon. Stay vigilant and keep sharpening your intellectual arsenal. We'll rendezvous again for another episode, continuing our relentless pursuit of enlightenment. Until then, keep your mind sharp, your curiosity burning, and your determination unwavering. Simultaneously, you are hereby alerted to our outposts on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, fortifying our information dissemination. Should you possess any pertinent intelligence to bolster our mission, transmit your findings with no hesitation. Your contributions shall be prominently acknowledged within the operational archives. Furthermore, for those prepared to provide substantial reinforcement, navigate to our Patreon forward base and enlist. Your support is integral to sustaining our forward thrust. Carry forth the legacy. Dismissed.